On May 2nd, we traveled to Laguna Seca for stop 3 of the Toyo Tires 2.5 Challenge. SVRA has put on some great races this year, but with rain forecasted for Saturday, I knew it was going to be an interesting weekend. As promised, it rained pretty much all day Saturday, and by the time it was our turn to go racing, the track was super wet. These cars don't have windshield wipers or rain tires, so it makes driving in the rain a little difficult. For this race, even though I qualified closer to the front, I decided to start in the back. Spent the whole outlap just testing the brakes, testing the tires, wanted to see what the grip level was like. About halfway through the outlap, my oil light came on, which is a pretty big red flag for engine health. The gauge that sits alongside it was working, so I brought the car into the pits, where Kevin and Matt determined it was just a short in the electrical system. Since the gauge itself was working, they sent me back out to try for another lap. I mentioned in my last video, but the way the points work in this series is it's beneficial for me to at least complete a lap and start the race. Even if it's just one lap and I retire the car, that's much better than not starting at all. So after all that, even though I was a lap down, I decided to go back out, do one full lap, and then bring the car back in. So at this point, you could probably fast forward to the race number 2 that was actually dry. I just spent the rest of this lap driving slowly in the wet, trying to bring the car in safely. here's the start of race number 2 on Sunday afternoon. We had waited all day, track had been run, so it was relatively dry with some wet spots on the outskirts. I'm starting here in about P11 of a field of 35. Can't say it's my best track yet because it's only my second time here. I certainly can't blame the car. We made some setup changes over the weekend, so I'm eager to see how they work out in the race. So I get a pretty good start and good run down into turn 2 going into turn 3 here. My goal is really just to let this race start to establish itself. I don't need to go fight for position right away, but I will find opportunities where I can. I've been in his mirror for the whole straightaway, so it was pretty obvious what I was going to do here. Brake just a little later than my competitor here and made the move stick up the inside. Throughout this race, you'll see me get a pretty good run coming up the hill. Just in the draft, the car is able to go pretty quickly. Never really able to commit to a move here, just a little too dangerous where the track narrows and goes into the corkscrew. My exit could have been a little better, but those guys have so much power coming up the hill. Up to this point in the weekend, I had been mostly doing practice and qualifying sessions, just lapping by myself. I figured this was a really good opportunity for me to study the competitors in front of me, see where they're faster, see where they're slower, and where I might be able to make opportunities to pass. Not really anything I did special here, but I'm learning when somebody makes a mistake in front of you, it's really important to capitalize on that. car behind me has a pretty decent run on me, brakes a little early, gets a better exit out of the corner, and just powers up the hill. I had a small moment of oversteer there, so I come out a little slow, and he's able to make the move stick in the inside of turn 6. Here's another example of a spot I was able to take advantage of somebody making a mistake. We both slide pretty significantly coming into the corner. I was able to save it, pop it into third, and motor right by. There might have been some oil down on the track or something. Identical situation to lap 2 where I passed this car in the same spot. So this felt pretty good to get the pass done. However, take a look at my gas pedal. It's all the way to the right. At this point it had broken off from the throttle bit that goes into the engine. The way I was accelerating from this point forward was only using the little piece of metal that goes into the engine bay. So it was basically an on-off switch. I'm not quite sure I was able to reach full throttle for the rest of the race, and for sure downshifting and blipping was an issue. You see me there looking down at my feet to see what the problem was. So from this point forward, every time I go to downshift, I was only able to blip about half of them, which means that when I wasn't blipping, the rear end locks up and makes the car very unpredictable under braking and slides around a lot. This really becomes a problem in turn 11 a few times in a row. I'm at race speed in the middle of this in a big pack of cars, so it's not like I could reach down and try to fix the problem if it was even fixable. I was nervous that it would somehow get caught and leave me at full throttle in the braking zone, which would suck. The other issue is when I'm not blipping, that's really hard on the transmission, so the car is taking a beating. stop talking when it happens so you can hear the engine, but this is where the throttle thing became a really big issue. I missed the blip going down from third to second gear. The rear end locks. I'm already in the middle of the racetrack, so I'm in a bad spot, but with the rear end locking in the middle of the turn, I have to do a big correction, and two cars get by me. At turn 11 here. I'm already distracted by the throttle issue and try to get these places back. The car in front of me has a big moment. I go very slightly into the dirt and back onto the concrete. It must have just been a weird angle or something. Something snapped or broke inside the suspension. It really felt like a bigger issue at the time than what the camera shows, but either way I retired the car to preserve both myself. I didn't want something to snap and get worse and potentially drive me into the wall. So not the best result just from a points perspective, but by the end of the weekend, I feel like I was really fighting with some of the fast cars. We worked on setup, so we're pretty dialed in. I'll post another video after our next race in Buttonwillow for round 4. Thanks for watching.